sometimes you can hear yourself through the things that you say, how childish you sound, right?
Yeah.
I did so much for them. Why don't they love me? They betrayed me. They left me, right? It's very childlike, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you know your inner child is coming out, because it's that little you trying to fix it again, trying to be good enough, trying to be okay.
That's oof. Because here's the thing. I'm loving this. Everything you're saying, I'm like, preach. But I know there's some listeners, again, that old girl that dated Steve, that was a hot mess. That's like, Steve wasn't like that. Steve was a big old asshole. But I love this conversation is because, like, I always say, I feel like, especially as men, it's easy to see your exes as the villains, and it's easy to say they're bad people, and it's easy to throw out the word narcissist left and right, which, not to say that some people aren't, but I love this conversation because we're humanizing everyone, and everyone seems to be afraid. Everyone seems to be afraid of that inner child, to like get hurt by another person or to be wanted by another person. But I love that we're adding like a human element, because I think it's really easy to just throw someone off to the side that they like just suck to suck. So kind of with that said, we hit on like the wounds of winning someone over. But obviously I feel like the commonalities that I hear from people is the ghosters, the people that are just shut down, the breadcrumbers, the hot and colders, I'm sure you see it all the time too. Is that like an attachment of a wound as well? Like, is there like a reasoning that maybe those people are running away versus just being awful?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and listen, I tend to try to not villainize anyone, even the people who are, I mean, unless you're like a murderer or something. Like, let's not go to the extremes, right? We're talking about the dating world.
Yeah.
Because everybody is just coping in the way that they learned best. And you got caught in the throes of that because you guys were a perfect co-creation of your wounds.
Yeah.
So whenever you partner with someone, you're like, oh my God, they were so evil. They're such a villain. Like, okay, some part of you was attracted to that. So you have to heal that. And then you'll never be attracted to that again, because healthy people aren't attracted to unhealthy people. If there's one unhealthy person, there's two. Okay. You have to look at that. And the longer you keep saying that you're the victim, the longer you're going to stay a victim and just put yourself in this category of getting the worst end of the stick. That's how it always happens. So anyway, what was your question?
Elise, you just
the avoidant.
Some bars. I mean, I will finish your thought. But I'm like loving what you're saying.
You were asking me about the avoidant attachment. When somebody ghosts you or they breadcrumb you and they're doing these toxic manipulative behaviors, someone should only have to tell you once who they are. If you keep chasing, if you keep trying to convince yourself or make up excuses for them, you cannot label them as the villain. They are showing you who they are, and you are just grabbing onto the victim. That's your childhood wound coming out. But when somebody in that position, they're doing that because either they fear abandonment on a very deep level, and they have very surface level attachments. They don't get close to anybody because they discovered at a young age, usually probably a product of verbal abuse or total abandonment, that when they showcased their emotions, it got used against them. They were either punished or left or told to shut up or, any kind of thing of those. So what they do is they use people's emotions against them because that's what was done to them. They don't know any other way. They were not nurtured.
The Self-Hype Podcast. Self-Hype Podcast.